Dad, want to have a catch?
I'd like that.
Right now, we're joined by our good friend, Dwier Brown. Now, Dwier, you got to understand, folks, this is a guy who you all know. Dwier played John Kincella in the movie Field of Dreams. Now, Field of Dreams is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year, and I had the pleasure of meeting up with Dwier at McCoy Stadium earlier on. They did a little promotion with the movie Field of Dreams, and Dwier and I went on the field, and we reenacted one of the great scenes, if not the greatest scene, in my opinion, maybe in all of Hollywood film. And Dwier, we're catching him at an airport. I think he's at LAX. Dwier, how are you?
I'm very good, Chuck. Good morning.
I want to thank you for taking some time, because I know it's been a busy summer for you with the movie and the anniversary, and everybody kind of wants to have a catch with you, right?
Well, there's worse things in the world to want to have people want to have a catch with me. So, I don't mind traveling around, and it's been really fantastic. But I'm glad I had a minute to talk with you guys.
Well, again, we met at McCoy Stadium. Dr. Charles Steinberg from the Red Sox had you in, and I think when I talked to Dr. Charles privately a week or two before, we both had an experience going to Dyersville, Iowa, the home of the Field of Dreams Park. We talked about it for a couple of hours. Now, he's a busy guy, far busier than I am, and we hit so many connections. So when he said you were coming out to the ball field and you were going to be doing this promotion, I absolutely weaseled my way in there, because I wanted to get in and meet you and get a piece of that magic that was Field of Dreams. And you have a book out called If You Build It, and it's a book about fathers, fate, and Field of Dreams. Did you ever think when you were cast in this movie, what did you think? Was this just another job for you?
In a lot of ways, it was. I had read the book Shoeless Joe that Field of Dreams is based on, and loved it. So I was excited, but it's 5 pages in the script, and just figured it was another kind of small part to tie up the loose ends at the end of this movie, and just move on. When we shot the movie, it was really fun shooting it in the middle of Iowa. I grew up on a farm in Ohio, so I felt like I was at home in all the cornfields and all that. But when we left there, just went about my business and went looking for the next job and all that stuff. It wasn't until we had the cast and crew screening about a year later that all of us were like, oh my gosh, this could be really, really big. Yeah, it has definitely been a surprise. I certainly did not think I would be talking to you, Chuck, this many years later, about a movie, 5 minutes in a movie that I made over 25 years ago.
Well, that doesn't say much about the success of you talking to me, first and foremost, but you are a hugely iconic figure in the country, and I think, in your book, you talk about how so many places where you go, people look at you, and they know you, and they don't know where, and it could be literally people will say, I saw this guy. Was it in a dream I had? Was it a family member? Was it? And it's because, you connected so deeply with them in that movie, but it's hard to place exactly. And by the way, you look the same you did in the movie, so it's no reason why, people shouldn't recognize you right away. But how's that? Like everywhere you go?
I say it's from living in a cornfield for all these years. It's easy on your psyche. I mean, I may end up going to Japan because there's the big baseball's big over in Japan, and even there they're interested in having me come and just be with fans and like we did, Chuck, just have a catch. And I attribute it. I just had this small part in the movie. For years, I didn't take a lot of credit for just had this small part, but I think what happened is the whole balance of the movie, Kevin and James Earl and everybody just open everybody's heart, and then at the last 5 minutes of the movie, I just get to walk right in, and I think for a lot of people who either had great relationships with their dads and missed them, or people had difficult relationships with their dads and wanted a second chance, my face on that screen at that particular moment when their heart was open kind of left an indelible mark. And so I think they remember my face maybe more than they would from any other 5 minutes of screen time that we get these days.
Well, it's funny because the movie is not really even a baseball movie, right? I mean, it's more of a a movie about faith or about dream magic and, obviously dreams, that kind of thing. And, we talked about it a lot this summer, how it ranks. And, everybody has to put something in some category. And this movie specifically, we tried to figure, is it one of the greatest baseball movies of all time, greatest sports movies? Is it, period, one of the best movies? But in your opinion, I mean, this isn't a baseball movie or a sports movie, is it?
Well, what's kind of funny is when you look at it, there's very little sports in the movie. I mean, like actual playing of sports, and it's certainly not, professional sports the way we think of it, So, I always thought of it as a sports movie. When I was doing research for the book, kind of mostly in catalogs as a fantasy movie, it's definitely a place I never thought of it, for some reason, maybe being in it or because I wanted to believe in it so much, and because it's become so real in my life. There hasn't been anything fantastic about it, but it was only when I was researching the book that I realized, it is kind of weird, I guess, that somebody hears a voice in their cornfield and builds a baseball field. I mean, and then these, dead players from, 60 years ago come and play on the field. I guess that really is a fantasy, but, maybe it's the fact that it was so real to me that I just never thought of it that way. But, I'm proud to be a part of any baseball movie. There's precious little baseball in it, and I think it has most to do with relationships, and particularly ones between fathers and sons and daughters.
I feel like you're my father now, Dwier. I feel like we need to, go out and spend more time with one another. What do you think? Is that a little weird?
Can I tell you I'm very proud? Can I tell you I'm very proud of you, son?
Yeah, well, I do.
I'm really proud of you.
Sometimes I feel like you're just saying that and you really don't mean it. But we'll talk about that in our therapist.
Let's just have a catch. Let's have a catch, and we won't have to say words, but you'll know just how much. I appreciate what you've done.
My heart is warming as we speak. I love your book. I thought the book was, anytime you enjoy a movie as much as Field of Dreams, and again, to be honest, I was out in Dyersville, Iowa at the ball field last summer on a family vacation with my family, and had an enormous connection with the movie before I even knew I would even come into contact with you at some point. So all of this is so genuine in the terms of my interest. So when I even got to see this book that it was written, seeing some behind the scenes and that kind of stuff is fascinating to me. And number one, it was very interesting the fact that your own father played such a huge role in this, in the sense that he had passed away right before you started filming the movie.
Yeah, I mean, this movie has just been such a great thing in my life, and my only regret is that I didn't get to watch the movie ever with my dad. Fortunately, I got to make my peace with him. I mean, if you're in the book, I talk about my father died 36 days before I arrived in Dyersville to shoot the movie. So having just left his funeral to go shoot this movie where I play the father, the dead father coming out of the cornfield to have a catch with their son, you can imagine how kind of confused and amazing experience that was for me. I really felt like my own father was there on the field with us when we were shooting, and it really was just kind of amazing experience to have had in context. And when I started writing the book, in a lot of ways I hadn't put together how much I grew up on a farm. I was just this farm kid, and I wanted to be an actor, and everybody just thought I was crazy. I mean, where I grew up, Sharon Center, Ohio, population 300, you didn't leave and become an actor, certainly, go to Hollywood or something. But so in that era, it was pretty amazing. And then to think that my movie career took me back to a farm, very much like the one I'd grown up on, shortly after my father's death, to play a father and play catch on this field and kind of get a second chance. It really was amazing. That's why I put that Father's Fate and Field of Dreams in the title, because it does seem like in a lot of ways that I was fated to have that opportunity to be John Kincella, and to have it when men come up to me and recognize me from the movie. A lot of times their tears come into their eyes because their father died, or they never had the relationship they wanted with their father. And so seeing me, I end up in airports and tire stores and grocery stores hugging men in the aisles because they're broken up about things that didn't get said to their father, or I feel honored to be that surrogate father for people, and they can get some sort of closure by having a catch with me, or shaking hands, or giving me a hug, or getting to say the things they never said to their own dad. It's really kind of an honor. I feel like I'm like a traveling priest. I do confession all over the country.
Well, you know what? It's funny about you in the sense that there's a genuineness to you. When I met you, and every time I've spoken with you, there's a true genuineness where, in my mind, any other actor would be, yeah, you like the movie, I got it. I'm kind of tired of this, but. This movie lasts longer than the hour and a half that it's on the screen. Obviously, people carry the message with them well beyond when they hit stop on their DVD player, and it's almost as though by fate somebody like you was brought in who would respect the aftermath of the movie, if that's the right word, to be able to do exactly what you said, and you do a remarkable job at that. But does that ever get tiresome or burdensome or anything?
It really doesn't. When I go to a baseball game and there's a long line of people, and I try to be present for everybody, because I got into this acting business because I wanted to learn how to express my emotions and how to be present. My parents, God bless them, were wonderful people, but that generation of Depression era and World War II era people, they'd seen a lot and learned how to kind of hold their feelings in check.
Dad, is this heaven?
No, son. It's Iowa.
And I didn't want to be that kind of person, so I ended up being an actor. And one of the things, the reason Field of Dreams, one of the reasons Field of Dreams was so important to me is that it's this movie that does just what I wanted. The reason I got into movies was, like movies like It's a Wonderful Life, where you can watch it and you learn something about your own value and about the value of human interaction and the mystery and strange occurrences that happen in life, and it kind of gives you faith in life. And so there's precious few of those movies out there. I would be in more of them if there were movies that supported that.
It's multi-layered, like you mentioned, the movie It's a Wonderful Life, and how, to me, that kind of movie, as well as Field of Dreams, every time I watch it, the different stages of my life, it sort of means something different.
You kind of end up looking at the movie and go, oh, I love this part, and then you watch a few minutes, then you're like, you're about to walk out of the room again, oh, this other part's coming up, oh, I'm going to watch that part. And then, you end up just sitting down and watching the movie, because it's just one of those kind of movies that you can't, it's very hard to walk away from.
So one of the things that I'm curious about, too, is the sort of the behind the scenes, the things that that people don't quite know in terms of the movie making magic. And there was one interesting story about the corn stalks themselves not cooperating with the production schedule of the film. Can you get into a little bit of that? I thought that was very interesting.
Well, in 1988, when we were shooting this movie out in Dyersville, Iowa, in the middle of farm country, there was a drought going on. It was the worst drought since the Dust Bowl, and the corn wasn't growing, which for a farmer happens every now and then. Usually you just wait until the rains finally come, whenever that is, and the corn will catch up. Here's this movie where the corn has to be a certain height. I mean, think how ridiculous it would have looked for the ball players to be walking on the knee-high corn. It just wouldn't have worked for the magic of the movie. So, it was a big problem for the film company because they just didn't have corn, and out there they don't have irrigation systems because they just count on the rain coming. So they had ordered 6,000 silk corn stalks from Korea to be flown in if at the last minute we needed to kind of bake a cornfield. But they got special permission to irrigate, so they dammed up the little creek that goes through the Lansing farm there and started irrigating the corn. And, all the other farmers who had this dead little spindly corn in their thing, they were pretty upset about it to see, but sure enough, the corn started growing to the point that by the time meanwhile, the film company, we're shooting every scene that doesn't have corn in it, all the stuff inside, all the other scenes in the movie, just trying to save time or, waste time until the corn was tall enough. When they finally got around to shooting that opening scene where Kevin hears the voice, the corn had gotten so tall because of the water and the combination of the heat. It was too tall, and you couldn't even see Kevin between the rows of corn, like 7 or 8 feet tall. So they had to build a platform, between the rows of corn, so Kevin could walk on it, so that you could see his head when he does that first scene where he hears the voice for the first time. And so it was just one fiasco after another. I don't think I'd ever been on a film shoot where there'd been so many difficulties with weather and other things that went wrong. But it's amazing that the movie came out as well as it did.
It sounds like it was the first introduction of performance-enhancing drugs in baseball there. With the artificial growth hormones.
Exactly.
I think maybe Mark McGuire was watching that production and said, "Hey, I got an idea here. This might work for me too."
Yeah.
So what's Kevin Costner like?
Kevin was it was such a great person to be around. When we were shooting, they had shot Bull Durham the year before, but it came out while we were shooting Field of Dreams in Iowa. So his star was just blowing up. I mean, he was on his way up anyway, but, Bull Durham, I think particularly for sports fans, really sent his career to a different level. So it was very interesting to be around. And, what's the other interesting thing that I write about in the book is, between takes, when he wasn't busy shooting Field of Dreams, he was in his trailer writing Dances with Wolves. So it was very interesting to be knowing him at that part in his life before he kind of, the summer before he shot Dances with Wolves and won an Oscar for it, and in the season that Bull Durham was opening, but he's just such a gracious guy. He's one of those people that when he's looking at you, you feel like you're the only person in the world. And it was interesting to be playing his father, in the movie, and I'd met his father. His father visited there at the set and everything, and I don't know. It was just we both connected in a way to play that scene where we didn't have to say a lot of words to each other off screen to get to the place where we were doing what we needed to do on screen. I think there was a sense of, kind of mutual respect and we talked a lot about, we both of us had problems with the line, "want to have a catch." Both Kevin and I had grown up where, in the Midwest where you say play catch. We talked to the director about that he apparently is from Long Island where they used to say have a catch, and he wanted it in the movie, so Kevin and I said it. But it was just a really fun experience from top to bottom. Kevin was great, and James Earl I was scared to death to meet Darth Vader, and Burt Lancaster was a childhood hero of mine. So this movie couldn't have been a greater culmination of a lot of my dreams and aspirations as an actor.
So let me plug the book here because the book is fantastic. It's called If You Build It, a book about fathers, fate, and Field of Dreams, and it's written by Dwier Brown, who plays John Kincella in the movie. I actually have to get another one because I'm wearing this one out. Like, no joke, I had you sign it and you made a little note to my kids, but I've had it on flights with me at the beach, and now I can just see myself going on Pawn Stars in the future, and I try to sell it, and they say, oh, it's all, the edges are tattered, and, it looks like it's a little water stained here, but I'm reading the hell out of this book, it's just something that's like, I'm carrying it around like, the Catcher in the Rye in my back pocket or something, that kind of thing. It's fantastic. It's written so beautifully too, and I want to give you credit for that, because that's a lost art these days, I think, for a lot of people. And the storytelling, your ability to sort of put you in the moment in all of these situations, even when you're a child, and you talk about how the conditions of how you grew up, and was it poverty or something? I mean, it sounded like, there was some times that got pretty rough for you as a kid.
Well, when you're a kid, it's funny, only when you look back, once you're an adult and you're making money yourself, you're kind of like, wow, we grew up pretty poor, It never
Right.
felt that way as a kid. We played outside all day, and we lived in this, really ramshackle house, but it was our house, and we were fixing it up, and it's just, when you're a kid and that's the only experience you have, you're like, okay, well, this is what's going on, and, I'm lucky enough I'll get to play catch with my brother today, and don't have to work in the garden for too long. I'll get a chance to go down to the swimming hole, and I don't know, it just doesn't seem like poverty. We were a happy family, and everybody else was in fairly similar straits, or at least as far as you can tell.
Happy Dwyer, because there's one part where I read that your mother hit you in the head with a baseball bat. I read that part.
Well, I don't suppose I was happy right then. That was my first experience playing baseball. My mother swung around, and I got 9 stitches in my mouth. So from humble beginnings, it's my picture that ended up in the Baseball Hall of Fame. So, that should tell anybody that dreams can happen if you stick to it and go about them. So anyway, yeah, but it was a pretty happy childhood. Like I said, I wanted to learn. I did little plays when I was a kid, just for kicks, and then it ended up sort of sticking around, and here I am still today.
Well, Dwyer, I'm going to let you get over to your gate and get on your plane so you don't miss your trip here, and I'm not through with you. We've got this great video that's going to be coming out very, very soon. As soon as we have some of this audio that we're going to use in it, where we actually got to reenact the scene from the movie, and it's a dream come true, a bucket list thing for someone like myself to be able to do this, and it was just remarkable. I literally felt a wave of spiritual whatever it came over me. It was something not human, not earthly.
When I reenact that scene with people, just for kicks, we start out kind of as a joke, but it almost always gets kind of touching and emotional, like even just saying those lines, "Hey, Dad, want to have a catch?" Yeah, I'd like that. It's hard not to get a little chill, and that's to me why it's kind of fun to do it, because it gives everybody that experience that I had, on the cornfield, and which I tried to recount in the book.
Hey, you know what? Maybe I'll write a movie about basketball, and we'll do it in a tobacco field or something like that, and we'll come up with something really
hang a
like
bushel
the spin-off.
basket up there. Yeah, sure. Okay, it's a deal.
Yeah.
If
Does that sound good?
If you shoot it, I will rebound, or something like that. I don't know what the title is. But,
Hey, you know what? This is how Hollywood works. We brainstorm. You're going out to Chicago to write this play with your friends, and this is where the magic happens. And
I might run into Michael Jordan there, and I'll pitch your movie idea, and we'll be off to the races.
That's absolutely a plan, Dwyer. So I want to thank you, and I'll be in touch with you very, very soon. Have a safe flight, and everybody, that's Dwier Brown. He is the actor, acted in a million things, but most notably in the movie Field of Dreams, playing John Kincella, the father of Kevin Costner's character Ray Kincella, and that movie celebrates 25 years of magic and bringing joy and happiness and thought and emotion to fathers and sons and daughters and mothers and cousins all over the world. Thank you, Dwyer. Have a safe flight. We'll talk to you very soon, okay?
Hey, thank you, Chuck. Great talking to you again.